spirit of celebration. We're grateful in the brilliance of life's perfection. We're grateful for the blessings already given. In the goodness of God we're living, in the finished kingdom of heaven, and all is well, all is well, all is well, all is well, all is
I'm so glad you guys chose to spend some time with us here this morning. My name is Christina S. Young, and I am a spiritual practitioner here at Genesis, and I'm going to be your host for the service today. Our online host, for those of you joining us via Facebook, we have Eric. I encourage you to say hello, announce your presence. You guys get to have side banter during our service, and that's a beautiful way to create community and connect if you don't get to be here for the huggy parts. So please feel free to comment online. So I would invite you to stand and say with us our mission and vision statements. Standing. Our mission statement: we are building a vibrant community, cultivating a garden of spiritual growth, honoring vulnerability, creating a safe space of comfort and peace where all are welcome and accepted. And our vision statement: Genesis is a bright beacon with an unshakable heart of love, accepting all, a home for the soul, where we each creatively express our spiritual brilliance. I hope to see each of you express and experience this beautiful creative spirit as we're in community together this morning and throughout the week. So for our announcements today, we have name tags available at our Welcome Center, so we encourage you to wear them so that we can greet each other by name. We're still looking for greeters for part of our volunteer welcome team, so please see Cynthia if you are interested in signing up or helping volunteer in any way. If you have a special gift or something that you think would benefit the community and you'd like to be of service, please check in with Cynthia. We're grateful to have received a generous stock donation, and we've now made it easier than ever to give online. So if you feel inspired, or you know someone who might feel inspired, please visit us at genesiscsl.org/donate-here to support the continued growth of our center. Our Genesis Visioning session will meet the very first Thursday of every month. So look for the Zoom address in your emails if you'd be interested in joining us to do some visioning for our community. We have a book study that's going to meet today after the service. We are now reading The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwin Gaines. If you don't have a book, not a problem. We read out loud, we discuss together. You don't have to come to all of them. You can come to the ones that you're here for. These are rich, beautiful conversations, so I hope to see you there. So if this is your first time here at Genesis, we'd love to connect with you. We have a connection card available at our welcome table that you can fill out. There's also opportunities to fill out connection cards online. And it's just a chance for us to connect with you, just set up that personal line of communication. That way we can give you important information. You can figure out how you fit with this community and how this community can be a support to you. So if you have any questions, please stop by the welcome table, or you can drop us an email. We would love to chat with you, give you a free gift. And now it's time for our meet and greet. So what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to stand and greet one another. We're a huggy bunch, so if you prefer to not be hugged, we understand the signal for I prefer a handshake, or the contactless namaste greeting is a beautiful option. If this greeting thing is something that makes you nervous, you can just sit in your seat, and we'll just honor and respect that as well. So please rise and take a moment and greet one another this morning. We so love to greet each other. I love our community. We love each other so much. I just wanted to also give a huge shout out to our supper club, small group, care circle. Thank you, our care circle that provided our refreshments for after service. So I encourage everyone to stay after the service and enjoy refreshments and more fellowship with everyone here. And so I want to thank everyone that's been in service this morning. It takes many hands to make this beautiful situation unfold each Sunday. And so a special shout out to everyone that helped set up this morning. Gideon, Cynthia, Michael, Jim, and Eric. You're rock stars. We appreciate you. Our morning greeter this morning is Cynthia. On the projector, we have Michael. Offering collection will be Gideon. Our sound tech is Jim, and also our peanut gallery. Our online host is Eric. I'll be your service practitioner. And again, thanks to the Supper Club for bringing our refreshments. Most importantly, well, almost definitely at the top of the list, I want to thank our wonderful musicians, Becky Thatcher and Matt Corey, for being here with us and being in service this morning. We are so deeply blessed when you come and share your musical gifts with us. And so I'm going to turn it over to them to lead us in our beginning of our centering portion of our service. So I invite you to just sing along with them as we center and open.
Presence.
beautiful stillness. I have a reading to share with you this morning. It's from the book 7,000 Ways to Listen by Mark Nepo. On page 155, he talks about approaching the dark acre. Everyone has a dark acre between their days and the source. Not dark as in evil or forbidding, but dark in the way that the canopy of a forest filters out the light. Crossing this acre is knowing who you are. Some call that crossing introspection or facing oneself. Most of us are forced to cross that acre because of some loss or hardship. Others cross that inner forest by following their creativity. Writers write their way across. Singers sing their way across. And painters, they paint their way across. But this journey, it is not reserved for artists. It is everyone's journey, and regardless of how, crossing that dark acre is the only way to find a home that lasts. We are asked to practice serenity by whatever means until we can disperse the fog of illusion. Whether the clouded veil comes from others or from making our own, but as powerful as such seeing and hearing is, it is not enough, and we are faced with the need to act on what we see and hear. And then we are asked, even demanded by the one life we have, to live in accord with what we come to know is true. This has always proven to be a crucial turning point in the human journey. Each of the mythic lives immortalized in story and the inner unfolding of sages and saints throughout time has such a turning point. As a young man with great promise, Prince Siddhartha had to leave the world that was being prepared for him, leave his family and position, in order to search for the very nature of existence. His courage in acting on what he heard as true led him to become Buddha. Moses had to leave his life as Pharaoh's son to enter the desert where he at last found God. Still others had to stay and remake themselves where they were. Rosa Parks felt the need to stay in her seat on that Alabama bus, and Nelson Mandela felt the need to stay in a homeland that imprisoned him for 27 years. But this turning point is not just for heroes. These legendary figures are often so lionized that we lose sight of the difficult human part of their journey and how it mirrors our own. I doubt that Buddha knew he would become Buddha, or that Nelson Mandela knew he would become the first post-apartheid president in South Africa's history. This crucial turning point in every life requires great courage and heart when no one is watching. Ultimately, it's not about leaving or staying, but about opening the door that waits between our soul and the world. The door that the storms, human and natural, always close, and which truth and love always reopen. In opening that door, no matter how often it closes, we are challenged to live the one life we are given. So please join me in prayer. I just recognize in this place, in this space, there is but one life, one truth, one power, one presence. And that is that which created the heavens and the earth, the stars above, but also the minutiae, the detail, the cells of each plant and physical animal, the molecules, every level of existence, and how we are invited to marvel at the synchronicity and harmony in which they come together and allow creativity to express so powerfully, so beautifully, so diversely. And from the space of awe, I just recognize that I am of that one life, that one power, that one creative love in expression. I recognize that each of us are that star stuff. Each of us are the cosmos, creating creatively, expressing powerfully, loving deeply. And so I recognize the truth of our being, and I speak my word that we are absolutely called to allow our door to open, to be supported, guided, loved on by that light, by that truth. I speak my word that we allow ourselves to receive the divine light, which is here for the sole purpose of expressing through each of us. And so I recognize those moments when I experience something I call fear. And I just recognize that fear. I hold that fear. I love on that fear. And I allow that door to open a little bit wider. That I remember the truth of my being. That I remember how I am designed to thrive. And how I am deeply invited and called to live this one powerful life. Beautifully, peacefully, in harmony with my community, with my nation, with the world. And so I just speak a word of gratitude on this calling, but even more so, gratitude that life is here to support me, and that is true for each of us, that life is here to support each of us, and that we get to do this one powerful work of our individualized expressions of life together in community, for there is only one. There is only one. So with deep gratitude for that connection and for that knowing, I just say thank you, Spirit. And I release this knowing unto the law, knowing that this is how we roll. It is made manifest in this very moment, with no waiting. And so it is. Please help me welcome back Becky and Matt.
Better keep your distance from this way. Better keep your boat from going astray. Find yourself a partner and treat them well. Try to give them shelter night and day. 'Cause here in the blue light, far away from the fireside, things can get twisted and crazy and crowded and can't even feel right. So you dream of Columbus every time the panic starts. Dream of Columbus with your maps and your beautiful charts. You dream of Columbus with an ache in your traveling heart. See how the cormorant swoops and dries. Must be some thrill to go that deep. Down to the basement of this life. Down where the mermaid gently sleeps. Not like here in the blue lights. Far away from the fireside, where things can get twisted and haunted and crowded. You can't even feel alright. So you dream of Columbus every time the panic starts. Dream of Columbus with your maps and your beautiful charts. You dream of Columbus with an ache in dream of Columbus. There is peace in the traveling heart. A dream of Columbus.
We are so blessed. Wonderful singers, wonderful song. I'm dreaming of Columbus. So let's start off with our affirmation. Breathing deeply, I delight in exactly who I am. Breathing deeply, I delight in exactly who I am. Breathing deeply, I delight in being exactly who I am. So it's Shark Week this week. We're going to talk about sharks and what that has to do with the ocean, what that has to do with us. And I'm going to start with a reading from, it's from Alexei Pauline Gumbs, who wrote Undrowned, which is about how what marine mammals have to say about liberation for us. You're welcome. This is what the young black-tipped reef shark who came right up to the shore and accompanied me on the rest of my walk said. What are you doing here? I asked in return. Everybody knows I'm writing about marine mammals, not sharks. And is this even part of your range? The shark took a deep breath underwater. I was jealous. Maybe I do need gills. First off, the shark said, that's no way to treat a requiem shark. Do you know who my cousins are? And we know requiem sharks, they look like tiger sharks. So they look dangerous, but in fact, they are not particularly. So Alexei said to the shark, much respect, shark of live birth, who breathes underwater, born holding yourself in the color of sand, guardian of the reef with your beautiful black edges, brave even among sharks, that you show yourself as a gift, that you showed yourself to me as more than can be expected. I am at your service. Okay, that's more like it, said the requiem shark. May you please soon outgrow those limits that do nothing to protect you. Outgrow those limits that do nothing to protect you. So we want to have our limits that protect us, but we're also limited in various ways. We limit ourselves in ways that don't protect us, that just constrain us. And we'll talk about some ways we manage to do this. In fact, let's have the next slide, my first picture. So Jill Bolte-Taylor is one of my favorite people to connect with because she's a scientist and she explains how our brains connect with spirit and how our brains work on the earth. This all happened when she had, as a brain scientist, she had a stroke and she noticed the blood clot shutting down the different pieces of her brain. And then she spent 8 years recovering so that she could tell everybody what she found out. And this, she talks about, in whole brain living, she talks about the 4 parts of our brain. We've got the left part is our logical part, the right part is our creative part, and then we have the feeling part, and the neocortex is the thinking part. And we start here with this guy is the guy that does everything. She refers to that as character 1. It's sort of the organizer who organizes the world and keeps everything going. This character 2, this is our protector. This is actually when we were first born, it was the first part of our brain that was active. It's feelings and knows about the here, knows about the present, and it knew when we were born that we were not living inside mom anymore. We couldn't hear her heart, there was this strange, we didn't have fluid in our lungs anymore. There was this strange gas that was coming in our lungs. And we just cried. And babies do a lot of that, but that's because that's what they need. Their protector keeps them alive. On the other side, we've got when Jill Bolte Taylor, that part of her brain shut down, especially the organized part. So she was in the world of the Swami and the exuberant person. And this part, the creative part of our brain, lives outside of time and space. It lives right in the now forever. And it isn't contained to our body, it lives in oneness. So half of our brain is living in oneness. Half of our brain is experiencing the eternal now, while the other half builds civilizations, makes the air conditioning work, and keeps us safe, keeps us from being run over by cars or starving to death. So Ernest Holmes teaches that you should celebrate your unique existence no matter what others think. He says, you exist so that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. Divine feeling, fire, creativity, and imagination can be expressed through you. And we do this in our creative brain. The Spirit comes to you with a new and fresh creativity. You need not ask what others have done or how they've done it. Be yourself and express life as you find it. Never imitate. So Ernest Holmes figured out a way, spiritual mind treatments are a way, to talk the logical part of the brain into opening to the power of the creative part of the brain. So without losing, Jill Bolte Taylor lost the power of speech and language. The language centers are all over there. So the oneness center is beyond words. I don't know, sometimes when I meditate for too long, words are not natural. And that's because this part of my brain, that's not its native language. Ernest also says, the wick of your individual life runs deep in the oil of your pure being. The wick of your individual life, which I would say is this part of your brain, runs deep into the oil of your pure being, this part of your brain. There is but one life, and that life is your life now. No matter what confusion appears at the surface of your life, there's always a place of calm in the center of your being. No matter how turbulent the waves may be on the ocean of your experience, beneath there is a changeless peace. Your being is submerged but not lost in the infinite. And so these are all metaphors so that this part of your brain can sort of activate and move into and work with the part of your brain that always experiences oneness, that lives in a world of oneness. Back to sharks. Sharks are often misunderstood, depicted as dangerous and menacing. Sharks are magnificent creatures who are a vital part of the interconnected web of life. We think of sharks as dangerous, and they are. About 10 people a year die from sharks, about 1 per year in the United States. So that's not nothing. That's much less than, for example, the 400,000 a year who die from mosquito-carried diseases, or the 46,000 a year who die from car crashes. But they can be a danger. When I lived in Santa Cruz, there was a story of a surfer who was out surfing at Año Nuevo Beach and was attacked by a shark. The shark bit his arm, but he knew that sharks' noses were sensitive. So he hit it really hard in the nose several times, and the shark was like, ow, don't hurt me. Go away. I'm going to find something easier to eat. And he went back to shore, and he was having some blood loss, so he hitchhiked to the hospital, but they stitched him up, and he is fine. So we haven't had that kind of shark that goes anywhere near people around here. I know we have dogfish, which are about the size of a dog and look like a shark, but I don't know. If one gets too close to you, you can punch it in the nose. Although chances are it won't. Yeah, millions of sharks are killed by people per year. The estimates I read ran from tens of millions up to 100 million sharks per year. So sharks really are endangered. The black-tip reef shark is one that's particularly harmless. Even though it looks like a tiger shark, it goes and it eats fish. It lives in coral reefs. It eats fish on the coral reef, so it keeps there from being so many fish that they eat too much of the reef. It's actually shy. They're shy, so and they can camouflage themselves. They're chameleon sharks, so they turn the color of their surroundings. If you come too close to them, they'll run away. But they're curious, and so often you'll find them hiding behind the coral, looking and saying, "What are you up to?" They gather together in groups. They aren't loners, but they like to work together to hunt and to keep safe, to hang around. They're very social. So they're keystone species. They're vital for maintaining other species in the ecosystem. So they live in coral reefs, and as we've heard, coral reefs are being affected by ocean acidification. As increased carbon dioxide comes into the world, the oceans neutralize some of it, but at the expense of making the ocean surface more acid. And this is hurting some reefs. But there's good news. You know, we are able to restore the reefs. There's a big reef called the Mesoamerican Reef, which goes from Yucatan Peninsula to Honduras, which is about 700-800 miles long. And it was in bad shape due to people. Really, it was a misuse of fishing. They were doing blast fishing, where they would explode things in the coral reef to kill the fish, and they'd overfish, so they'd kill the species. You know, reefs are an ecosystem. They need to have just the right amount of fish that are manifesting their civilization. And they have ghost fishing gear, where they abandon their fishing gear and it messes up the reefs. So a few years ago, about 5 years ago, they started enforcing all these laws that had been on the books. And the reefs are recovering. People are like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know we weren't supposed to blow up the reefs." There you go. So people aren't doing it, and just doing that is restoring one of the reefs. There are other reefs that are being restored by, they have methods of attaching coral to the reefs. So they take fresh live coral and attach it to the dead coral, and it rebuilds the reef. Or they sometimes take sand-covered steel and attach coral to that, and they'll hook it into the existing or dead reefs to create a reef structure. And it takes about 4 years for it to grow into a fully fledged reef with a whole ecosystem around it. And what's interesting about doing that is it's something, volunteers are doing it on shore, but you can pay to do it. It's a business. If you go to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, one of the popular options for people is to spend a day restoring a reef. And so they get little reef pieces and connectors and attach it back to the reef. And I don't know, hearing about that made me want to go to the Great Barrier Reef more than I had before. At University of California, San Diego, see, this is the high-tech part. This is the part I like. They've created robots that will robotically go and restore the reef. And so they can do this in places where they don't have a lot of tourism, or it's not close enough on shore for volunteers. They can restore sort of mid-ocean coral reefs. So the bad news is that ocean acidification is real, and the good news is that people are working on methods that seem like they'd scale pretty well to restore the reefs. So sharks are misunderstood, but we can understand them a little better. Let's move to the next slide. The part of us that I think is most like a shark, that's most misunderstood, so these are the four brains. And this part here, our protector, this is the part that activated as soon as we were born. It's got fight, freeze, flight, fawn. Fawning is something we didn't used to think about as much, but you see that sometimes in US cabinet meetings where people are telling their leader how great he is. And you know that people don't want to be fired or primaried or, but there's also tend and befriend is another mechanism. But this fight, flees, fright, fawn, we all have this within us. And one of the things about this part of our brain, it controls the amygdala. It can take control of our bodies. And so we will just be normal people and suddenly we'll be triggered and this big rage will come up or this big panic or suddenly we're talking in a way that sounds like we're a 3-year-old. And it's because that part of us doesn't go to school, or it doesn't pay attention to the teacher. It pays attention to trying to keep us safe from the bullies, trying to keep us safe from maybe the teacher asking us a question that we don't know the answer to and getting punished, however they did that in the day. But we still have this. This is part of us. This is like the shark part of us. It just means to protect us. And what's interesting, so we recognize it in ourselves and we can see in ourselves what triggered us. And so we just, I've talked before about trying to greet it. We also see it in other people. When you see somebody misbehaving, on the street or one of your friends is somehow acting wacky or your relative starts screaming at your wife, where did that example come from? You just have to remember, this is somebody's protector, and something triggered them, and they're trying to stay safe. And so this is our opportunity to sort of open ourselves up and be curious, rather than necessarily condemning them. Think, they may or may not mean ill, but they're just trying to protect themselves. And if we're curious and we learn more, we can figure out how not to trigger them or how to open, the group to that. The planner we've been studying a lot in the care circles in the book, What's in the Way is the Way. And our planner is the part of our brain, that builds civilizations, that creates languages. It's really got an enormous intellect, especially sort of collectively. But it can limit itself by staying away from the creative part of the brain. When it's just being logical, it's staying away from its intuition, staying away from the now, just making plans and following through with the plans. It doesn't work as well. And so it needs the relief, the rejuvenation of connecting with the creative part of your brain, which I think is, as I said before, this part of Ernest Holmes' genius. He figured out a way to use language to connect, to motivate our linear part of our brain to connect with the creative part of our brain. So we really get to hook into oneness and get to use oneness in a logical way to prosper us, to prosper the world, to make everybody happier, wealthier, healthier. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. So we know sharks you consider to be dangerous. Our protectors, sort of outbursts can be considered to be dangerous, but we can welcome them. We can be curious about them. We can embrace them. We also, people think that sharks are alone, that sharks, you see one shark. In Jaws, it was just one shark. It wasn't a whole community of sharks. It was just one sort of rogue, very hungry shark. Yeah, this is really a calumny on sharks. And what we understand is most sharks live in community. They work together in community. They have a loving community. But we, especially as Americans, we get the John Wayne image of the lone person, alone against the world, or we have to be self-reliant, even, it's funny, Henry David Thoreau talked about self-reliance, and this was, I got in trouble when I was in college and we were studying Thoreau, because I was having none of it. I like him much better now than I did then. But one of the things is, he talked about being self-reliant, and I think he was trying to, in fairness, he was distancing himself. He was around during the Mexican-American War. He was around during when southern slave gangs would come and haul off your neighbor, claiming that that person had been enslaved, even though you know that that person had been living there their whole lives. It was lawless apprehension of people and carrying them off into states where they could do what they wanted with them, regardless of the truth of things. So he was saying, I don't want any part of that society which invades other countries and which seizes people who've done no harm to anybody. And yes, he got to have dinner every night at Ralph Waldo Emerson's house. Mrs. Emerson was a great cook. He actually lived not quite within sight range, but a very short walk from Emerson's house. And of course, as self-reliant as I'd like to be, who would turn down a chance to have dinner with Ralph Waldo Emerson? So Thoreau had a community, even though he preached self-reliance. And I think this is something we should all look out for, is we've got, as much as we've got, this is our part, our protector doesn't know how much you can count on people. So it wants to make sure you're safe. But once you're safe, you can move into tend and befriend, and you can help find a community, create a community. The last thing, it's not the last, but radical self-love is my next point. That I think, we've come here to love ourselves. We've come here, that's I think why we're manifesting on our planet, to love ourselves, to love all others, to love the civilization, to love the nature. By loving, this is how we thrive. This is the explorer part of us, really is into loving the moment. This is the aspect of us that, this is where you're playing sports and you're in a flow, or you're running and your ego drops away and you're just one with nature and one with the action, one with what's going on. It's, when you're playing tennis, when it shows it doing a chemistry experiment. I would get that way when I'd computer program. I'd start programming and suddenly I've missed dinner and it's midnight. But me and the computer were one. It's just oneness with what goes on. And this is the reason why when we do meditations, people will often ask you, when you take an in-breath and pay attention to your breath going in and out, that brings you into the now. And that lets the explorer take control. It brings you out of this mode of your brain. We spend a lot of time explaining why we want to do it to the planner, so the planner understands that this is good for us. So the planner is willing to watch and see how it works doing this communion with a oneness. And we make sure that the protector feels and is safe. We're in a safe place, it's cool, we're all friends here. And then we can manifest into the oneness. So let's actually do that while we're talking about it. No time like the present. So let's all take a deep inhalation and exhale. And pay attention to your hands. Do you feel, is it cool? Are your hands warm? Do you feel a breeze? Paying attention to your breath. What does it feel like as it goes in through your nostrils and down into your lungs? What does it feel like when the breath goes out your lungs back through into the world. Let's move our attention to our hearts. Breathe into our hearts. And in our practice of radical self-love, let's see what we love and appreciate right now. Is it a pet, a family member, our younger selves, our present selves? Can we love our bodies, which have done their best to bring us here? We each have a different way of manifesting our bodies in the world, but our bodies are hanging together. All those trillions of cells working together to keep us going so we can connect to oneness, so we can build a beautiful civilization, so we can enjoy and rejuvenate and keep ourselves and all our loved ones safe. As we lay back into that love, that appreciation, we notice how it grows. It grows and expands and fills our hearts. It fills our bodies and connects us to one another. As we lean back into it, we notice it surrounds and interpenetrates our every cell. There's no difference. There's no spot where the love ends and we begin. We are one with love. We are one with the universe. And the universe's radical self-love is how the universe loves us individually and collectively. God is so grateful that you're here. God is delighted with you. God is delighted with creation and how it's manifesting. And God sees our purpose here is to organize our beloved community, is to manifest our beloved community, is to devote all our wit, intelligence, love, and power into making our world into an even more wonderful world. Helping all of the creatures, all of creation. Helping all of the creatures, all of creation